matchup against the New Jersey Devils. Second of four against the Devils this season. It's Jason Martinez, Chris Terry, and Brian Smith. And, well, this is where it all started, Bundy. This 8-game point streak started against New Jersey. They overcame a multiple goal deficit in that game, got it to overtime, ultimately lost it in overtime, but they'll look to come out on the full side of the right side here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, it's a Metro Division game. It's an important 2 points. If you're the Flyers and where they're at right now compared to where they were last year, I mean, listen, it's a totally different set of circumstances. So again, if you're the Flyers, you want to have the attitude, you want to keep climbing the standings, you want to keep doing the good things that you've done in a lot of the games. You're going to have to be prepared for a Devils team tonight who got smacked the other night by the lowly Anaheim Ducks 5-1. There's a lot going into this game tonight for the Flyers, but it's certainly a game. I think the way the Devils played last game, they can win, but they're going to have to really make sure they have a good road presence, especially early in this game tonight. It doesn't make them more dangerous. It just means you've got to be more prepared because they're going to be a little bit frustrated. So that's what it means. I always say, a team got waxed the time before. It doesn't mean they're going to come out and they're going to flip the script. It doesn't, because you lost 5, it doesn't mean you're going to come out the next game, you're going to score 4 goals because you didn't score the last game and you lost to a really bad team. You just have to be prepared because it's almost like a playoff game, where you come out and if you lose a game and you're a good hockey team, you're going to be prepared for the next one, regardless of what, especially if it's a poor production night for you. So I think that's for the Flyers tonight, just to be aware that it's early by the Devils, simply because they did not have a good result at all just 2 nights ago.
Yeah, against, as you alluded to, one of the worst teams in the league, not actually the worst team in the league, the Anaheim Ducks. Hey, buddy, let me ask you about the dynamic of becoming a team that's to be reckoned with, because the Devils back in 2021-22, they actually finished 2 points ahead of the Flyers, 63 points. That's not where they wanted to finish, 2 points ahead of the Flyers. Flyers had 61, they had 63.
Mm-hmm.
Then they came back last year, and they had 112 points. They finished second in the division, 1 point back of the Carolina Hurricanes. But now everybody goes, oh, okay, this is a team that they're going to take that next step. They're going to become a team that can contend for a cup. And the heydays here once again in New Jersey. What's it like carrying that pressure as a player when you're a team that everybody is now saying is one of the elite teams, and they haven't performed to that just yet this year?
Yeah, that's what happens when you have one good year, and the Flyers will find that out too. They're having a great run. They've had a good start to the year. Teams are going to be ready for them. They're not going to look at them as go out and play and say, oh, it's a doormat and it's a Chicago. They're not good yet. And they're they're rebuilding, as we thought the Flyers were rebuilding also. But I just think for a game, a team like New Jersey that had a breakout year, I think it really came down to their individuals, right? Like Jack Hughes finally broke out of where he was his number 1 pick. Dougie Hamilton, who's been out this year, came in and pretty much did the same things he was doing in Carolina at times. He came into the Devils and did it. So, again, there's a lot of individual efforts that put them in that position. But certainly, when you do something like that, you get 112 points. You better be ready for what's coming, because, you're going to have to be prepared. And, the thing with a guy like Hughes, like, he's a great talent. Like, he's a really, really good talent. But at the same time, he is a guy that if you really can get some heavy body on him, slow him down a little bit, you can wear a guy out. Now he's also a guy that's had players watching for him. Best thing to do with these skill guys, Jason, to me and Brian, keep them off the power play. That's such a key. But they've turned the corner a little bit. But again, when you look at the Devils' record, they've had some injuries, and their goaltending has been, whoa, man, it's been rough some nights. But they're a team certainly that has felt good about themselves, and it's the Flyers' job to make sure they stay down in the doldrums after that horrible loss the other night. Yeah, I totally agree with you, and, but you know what's funny, Smitty? Penalty kills are weird. Like, I think there's sometimes where you can look at the number and say you're at 82%, which is, certainly acceptable. Um, Penalty kills are odd, and they're almost like a team. When they go good early in the year, they tend to go good through the year, and when things don't go your way with them, they don't go your way. It's a honest to God, it's a year-to-year thing. It really is, and it comes down it's the strangest darn thing. But that seems to be like how it goes sometimes. I've been on teams where you had remarkable penalty kill success, offensive chances, and I've been on teams where you're able to kill some off, or I've seen teams kill them off, but there was just no flow at all offensively, and there shouldn't be. There's never usually supposed to dig in and find offense on a 4-on-5 when you're the penalty killing team, but man, it can sure make you lift your team up when it's going good and it finds a way to pull the trigger and get your team a goal and get the lead or tie a game or demoralize the other team's power play. That's why penalty kills are interesting. But I can't say, Smitty, that there's one or two things that goes on that makes it better. It's a buy-in, it's blocking shots, it's doing all those dirty things. But in terms of the offense coming with it and that good feeling, that's a year-to-year thing. It's just sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't.
It either works or it doesn't work.
That's kind of it.
It's a weird chemistry, yeah. First of all, what the heck was Tony DeAngelo doing on the PK? No, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, that's Tony DeAngelo on the PK. Not something you desire, I don't think.
Like
let's
me
take
on
our
the power
first
play.
Yeah, let's take our first time out. We'll come back. It's Flyers Devils at the top of the hour with Tim Saunders and Todd Fedoric from the Prudential Center. We're back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Smitty. Hey, Bri. All right, Bri, say something now.
Hang on a minute. I can't hear.
All right. All right.
Copy that.
I should be up now, Jay.
All right. Yeah, I can hear you in my ears. All right. All right, it's Flyers Devils tonight from the Prudential Center. Second of four matchups between these two teams. As the Flyers last game lost in overtime on that 2-on-1. Jack Hughes, who was it? Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes on that 2-on-1.
The brothers, yep.
Yep. It certainly was.
Let me ask you this, Bundy, because I heard John Tortorella say something. I think it was 2 days ago now about Travis Konechny. He said, "I think you can overcoach him into being an average player, and you have to let him." You have to release some of your control you instinctually have as a coach. All coaches, what do they want? They want to put so much structure in and control everything. But players like that and players that, have these very free-flowing skill sets, you got to kind of give them the leash, pull it back every once in a while. But I thought that was a really interesting quote from Torts.
And the Torts has done that to other players.
He didn't do that earlier in his career, right?
I mean, he's been known to turn many guys into just average players.
Yeah.
So ask most teams he's been with. But I understand what he's saying. He's saying that if you just keep coming down on a guy over and over and over again, you're going to take away what's good in him. The stuff that makes him who he is. Yes, Travis Konechny makes oddball plays sometimes. But if he doesn't make that oddball play, is he able to make a great play for you later in the game? And I think that's what he's saying. I think sometimes, I'm glad Torts said that because, he gets an effort out of it. And that's a different tone from a guy that's tried to get over the years everybody on the same Torts page. If you don't, we want you to buy in. This is how you win. But at the same time, you have to let guys be creative and you have to let them be a little sloppy sometimes because on the ice. Now, I don't like it all the time. Obviously, you can't make a pattern of playing like that, but you can be responsible. You can be good, but you can also take chances. And when he says you can coach a guy like that into an ordinary player, yeah, you got to let those the guys that have the scoring prowess, the guys that want to get to the front, that want to make a difference, you got to let them sometimes take the rein of the horse themselves rather than you trying to pull back on it. And I like that Torts said that. But it's funny he said that because it's not always been like that with him and the way that he coaches and the way that he looks at his star players.
Yeah, Bundy, I want to go back to something you said before the last break, and it has to do with the rebuild. And here in New Jersey, where it hasn't been linear, obviously, at this point anyway, and I don't think the rebuilds always are linear. I think sometimes you do have surges and then they fall back, and that doesn't mean the rebuild's not working, but it just doesn't go in a straight line. And I almost feel like the Flyers are in that situation right now because everything's going very, very well. But the way I look at it is it's like kind of like the way you said the penalty kill. I think this particular situation might only be a one-year thing. I think it has to do with the particular group of personnel that they have right now just gels really, really well together. We all know how hard it is to keep a particular group together from year to year, but we've heard it from several guys that this is one of the tightest groups they've ever been a part of, and it really seems like that plays well into how Torts wants them to play. But come next year, it might just be, okay, that year was great. Now we're back to the rebuild. It's still going to take us some time, but at least I guess Flyers fans can enjoy this while it's happening and just see where this group goes.
I'm sure
I give Torts
understanding, Smitty.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure they will. Absolutely.
Yeah. I give Torts a lot of credit for the way that he's coached. But again, you can say what you want about the team, but there's going to be changes again, and there's going to have to be because you can't. Like I said, we've said this, Chase. Like winning games in November and December is a whole lot different than winning 4 out of 7 in 4 series in the spring.
Yep.
And I'm going to be quite honest with you. There's probably 12 guys that need a flip over, and that's probably like 12 guys. 12 guys. And that's the way it goes. I don't care. What I love? You can have guys that love each other, they love playing for each other, but you have to have the skill with that. Ultimately at the end, like Tampa, right? You take Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman. You got to plug those pieces in. And they have to be the catalyst for it. So when I look at the Flyers, they have guys that have done a great job. They like each other. They're fun to watch. They play hard for one another every single night. But is this a team that's going to lift the Stanley Cup on Broad Street? Is this a team that's going to give you a chance for a decade to try to hoist that cup, or 7 to 10 years with a window to try to win? And this team right now, the answer is no, it's not. But it's on its way. You got Mishkov, you got Cutter Gauthier. Those are 2 guys. You add in skill, top 5, high first-round picks. That changes the look. Now you got to fix that mix again with new guys coming in. There's going to be overhaul, guys. I mean, that's 2 guys right there. When I said 12 bodies, 10 to 12 guys, that's 2 guys right there are going to take 2 more jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So and then again,
everybody again too, Bundy.
That it does. It moves everybody down, up and down, right? That's exactly right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not being, mean or an ass by saying that. I'm just being honest.
That's realist. It's realist.
That's just completely like I'm never going to lie. I'm going to tell you the dead truth. This just has to be a process. They're doing a lot of good things. I did like another thing Torts said a couple weeks ago. We want to have this thing up to speed, we're moving in the right direction when those skill guys come so that they can plug those guys in and they're ready to play the system the right way. That's an important statement as well. That's the most important one for me that he said, because he's grooming also for the future. But trust me when I tell you, we're looking through names on the roster and I don't need to say any. There's a lot of turnover that still needs to happen here. if you want to be the difference between the top 3 or 4 teams and being 12 to 16. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, too, guys, there'll be some guys that are here, but they need to be slotted properly. They need to be in the right role for total team success. And, sometimes that's going to be guys getting pushed down in their role, less ice time, not in a role where they're intended to drive offense, but they're in a shutdown fourth line role, whatever it might be. No Carter Hart tonight. He is out with the illness still bothering him. Sam Ersson will get the start tonight. They recalled Cal Peterson. He comes up and he'll be the backup tonight from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. They also called up Rhett Gardner, but it looks like Sean Couturier is going to go. But no Hart tonight. And, you're looking at Ersson right now. How about this? In his last 9 games, 7-1-1, a .930 save percentage. 17. He's given up 17 goals on 244 shots. He's been great for the Flyers, and he gets the start once again tonight to run with it, Bundy.
You know what? I'll tell you what a turn that is to have a guy like that. You got 2 goalies now that are probably number ones.
The way this league is going, yeah.
Well, there's some teams that get 4 goalies that couldn't stop a beach ball. Put them all in nets together.
Yeah.
What's unbelievable when you now have a guy that can really play like that, and they have an abundance of pretty decent goaltenders. But if you have 2 guys that are ones, believe me, you'll make room for a full-time number 1 with a bona fide backup if that's the case. And when I say that, you got another asset right there that you may be able to move for an awful lot, because the last time I checked, there's a lot of bad goalies in the NHL, and there's a whole lot of teams that need one of them. Look at Edmonton. They're like a game under 500. Would they do anything for a goalie right now? Yeah. Anything, because they probably wouldn't be in the hell that they've been in. But again, I love the way Sam's played, and I'm going to say it. I'm as confident when he's in net as I am when Carter's in net.
Yeah, he's certainly feeling it right now.
And the same sort of thing, too, Bundy, the way that the depth has been built. We've talked about Cutter and Matt Michkov coming. There's goalies coming, too. Carson Bjarnsson's having a great year. There's that other Russian kid whose name escapes me right now.
Kolosov and Zagrebin.
Zagrebin is blowing the doors off for an 18-year-old anyway out there.
So it's Kolosov.
Can't play them all together, Smitty.
Right. So that's where you get more assets, right? You can only have 2 of them. Right?
You can, and the Flyers sure look like they got 2 number 1s.
Yeah.
Where there's about 18 teams in the league that don't have 2 number 3s.
Yeah, you're right. So, and look, you can have goaltending depth until all of a sudden you don't.
Right,
it happens really fast.
Yep.
Let's take our last time out here on Flyers Game Day. Flyers Devils at the top of the hour. Jason Martinez, Chris Terry, and Brian Smith. We're back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Flyers Devils coming up momentarily. Countdown to face off with Tim Saunders and Todd Fedora coming up. And Bundy Sanheim gets back in the lineup tonight. He missed the one game due to illness, but he comes back up and will play alongside Cam York. Rasmus Ristolainen played a really good game on Saturday night.
Best game as a Flyer.
I totally agree. I see
Not
the same
even.
thing-
There wasn't even. I can't even name a second. That was number 1, and everyone else was number 5.
Yeah.
He was that good. He was that good.
And I imagine it was his best game in the NHL because he was in Buffalo.
Ever, yeah. He was in Buffalo. Then he came here, and it took a while. That was his best game in the history of the NHL. You know what? You never know where a guy has a game like that if you can translate it into something else.
Yeah.
Like there's nights where guys might have something and the light goes on. It might take 6 or 8 years. Look at
Especially
Luke
for
Shen.
defensemen, right?
Look at Luke Shen. He's gone on to win like 2 Stanley Cups. He got chances. He fell into his niche as a right-hand shot, just played defense. And what a difference it's been, right? After a guy, that's a guy wasn't sure if he'd play more than 5 or 6 years in the league. But again, everybody needs defensemen.
And if I'm not mistaken, Luke Shen went out and found like his own coach, like his own skating coach or something like that. Something about his game was revitalized by that. And I remember when Risto got here, the first thing that was said by the coaches at the time, which are not the coaches now, but the note was that they got to break a lot of habits. He picked up a lot of habits over the years. And what was the number, Jason? Like 40 total coaches he'd had in Buffalo over his career, or something stupid like that when you count assistants and everything. And so he comes here and just goes to show you, I think, what this staff would be able to do that he said he wished he had these guys when he was 18. And I don't think he's just talking about Torts there. I think he's talking about Brad Shaw as well. Just the way that they've been able to finally kind of maybe guide him down the right path. I don't know.
Well, he had a heck of a hockey game the other night, and that's something to build on. I mean, he should just take that, bottle it.
Yep.
Remember what he did? And I thought he was very physical, but also very intelligent with that physicality the other night. And, he was good. He played really, really well.
Yeah, he didn't run himself out of plays to be physical and take himself out of position. Somebody had told me about Ristolainen when he first got here. He was like a car mechanic that works on an engine all day and it's got that grease and stuff all over his hands. You can't just wash your hands and wash the Sabres stink off the hands in one washing. You got to get the lava soap and scrub the hell out of those hands and wash them like 6 or 8 times. It took a little while to get him to learn how to, be a pro and prepare and practice all of those things, because that wasn't how. See, that's the difference, Bundy. With some rebuilds, you accept losing, you get a culture like that, and it's a country club, and it's not easy to you can't just flip a switch.
If you think like a loser and you act like a loser, you're going to be a loser. That's like the one thing that's probably been defined this year, right? Weren't sure how this team would do, but in a league where I think there's a lot of teams that aren't on the same page, they found a team that is on the same page, and look at what you can do. When you have a group of guys buy in, play well, play hard, have a little bit of belief in themselves, and then that festers, it grows and grows, and all of a sudden you got a hockey team that's watchable, determined, and plays hard every single night. It gives their home team a chance to cheer.
And like you said, Bundy, there's going to be some turnover, but there's going to be some guys that stay too. And I feel like the guys that stay, that go through this and are still here, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, now they know what it's got to be like. You can talk all day long about a team's chemistry and everybody getting along, but you don't really know what it's like until you've gone through it. Having gone through it this year, regardless of where this year goes and how long the rebuild takes, when those guys get to the point where they're adding that talent, they'll know how to try to form something like this again.
That's why you have a core that can define that. Yeah. And that's why I said there's going to be a lot of turnover. Who's your core? Who's going to pass that message down? Keep it together. And then all you do is you sprinkle other parts, and whether they're great players, whether they're edge players that are trying to change the look of your physicality of your team, that all has to be part of it. And they're certainly on track to do that. This should be an interesting game tonight. It really should. I think the Devils have taken a step back a little bit, guys. I think they play too light and easy. And I think the way the Flyers play, they can make this a real mess for the Devils tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be Sam Harrison versus Vitek Vanacek. He'll get the start for the New Jersey Devils. 11-5 on the year, 3.33 goals against average, and not so good, 883 save percentage. The Devils, 2 always, 883 and 896, sub 900. And they want to blame it on the coach. Mm-hmm. Coach needs to go save.
They always do, pal.
Come on, Lindy, make more saves.
Yeah, Lindy, come on, make a save every once in a while. All right, stay tuned. We've got Tim Saunders, Todd Fedoruk standing by at the Prudential Center for the Flyers and the Devils. Countdown to face-off coming up next. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.